How's it going, guys? G4 Gamers here. Wanted to make a scalable system for parallel batteries. Now this system here gets you up to 21 hours, I think it's 21 point something hours of backup time, which is awesome. Currently I am running a few lights just to kind of demonstrate kind of what I would do with this kind of setup. Some of the main power I'm going to be using to kind of like emergency lights first before we prioritize like extra lighting. There is a dude back there in the background just going crazy with an AK. Anyways, so in order to see this in action, this is my main power coming in, so I'm going to simulate this by turning it down to like, let's say 10, and now we are currently running on one battery, which is this one first. And then we're going to be switching over to these two. I hope the charge isn't too long. There's 1 minute and 36 seconds left for this battery to switch, for this battery to die, and then running two batteries parallel, actually in a series, will only charge the back one first, and only after this one's done charging will this one start to charge. So this two batteries will give a total of 7.2 hours total charge, and each of these will do, you know, the same thing. So that's a total of like 21 point something. So anyway, so we're currently running on battery power. Right now I switched the configuration here so that we only have 10 power coming in. That's not enough for the configuration. So this is basically a 110 system, and you want to build your base to be used only to the power that you're going to have when you're running on battery power, if that makes sense. So say you build your base and you don't want to use it to max power, because I got a total right now of 177 coming from the windmills and the solar panels up on top. And if I were to use all that power when I'm running on backup, I only get 100. You can only get 100 of discharge from the batteries. So there's no point in building your base. You might as well build different systems for different types of traps or sentry guns or whatever not, once they become power operated. So let's see how much time we got left before it switches. We got 7 seconds, so there we go. Now we're running on this one here. So this was no longer available. Battery's coming through here. This is the blocker for the first one. It's already dead. Now we're running on the second one. So here we got 1 minute 44 seconds, and just to show you, this one's not discharging. They were all charged at the same amount. So this one's at 146. This one's now draining, and the other one's already drained. So we got 1 minute 32. So now we're running on the second one here, and I'll show you how I run all these wires to. I'm going to disconnect everything, and then I will show you how all that works. So just to kind of show what's up on top, I got 2 windmills and 4 solar panels, and they're connected with electrical branches. And these 2 here, these 2 here, and then these 2 branches here, and then these 2 more branches come to this one, which is my main line coming down into this electrical branch. Sorry, I misread those. These are root combiners, and this is an electrical branch. Total of components that you need to complete the system is five electrical branches and 4 or switches, and then you got splitters for charging your batteries, 3 blockers. This one I would just recommend to have in case to pre-select your main power for emergency lights, just so you know before you start going crazy with all extra lighting or anything like that. You can select this one to have, let's say, something powering. There goes the last battery right there. Now we're using this last one now, and this one's dead, and we're using this one. We'll let that die, and then we'll charge them up a little bit just so you can guys kind of see if power kicks back on. What I was saying, that this here is going to be used to run into main lights that need to be powered if, let's say, I only have, like right now I only have 10. These are like emergency sensors or something like that. And and then the rest of it will be shared to whatever I need to power extra lighting or whatever not. So I'll wait for this here to die. It's only got a minute left, and then so basically while that dies, I'm going to show you guys how to connect the door switch. Just kind of right here. So in order to connect the door switch, you want to install the door, install the door locked, and then you want to have it closed. I think that's which one on the other side. So let's do this one. So you want to have the door closed, and then after you have it closed, go ahead and unlock it, and then select the pair, and it will turn green. Then lock it back up again, and now that's paired. That's how you select one. We're about to run out of power here, so 16 seconds left. And then once there's 16 seconds, once this runs out, then this lights I have two series running. These two on each square run on a separate series, and it starts here. So it's coming off here. It's prioritizing, I believe, 16 energy here to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lights. But I only have 10 power coming in, and each of these sensors will use a power. So it'll be 10, and then it switches to 9, 8, and this here goes over, and then it will go to this switch here, and then we have 7, and then we'll have 6, and then here we only have 5 coming out, and each of these take 2, so we'll go 5, 3, and then I only have enough to power this one on this series right here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn power back on, and then I got, I'll just make it, I don't have 500, but that way I know max power is going through. So now max power is back on, and then all these switches got triggered, blocking the battery power, and that way these start to charge, and now we're charging 6 seconds, 7 seconds, and then 7 seconds at some point here. Come on, there it goes. So, and again, the back ones will charge first because it's running power into this one, out to that one, and then out of this one and into this one. So this was charging that one, and every time you charge a battery like this, you lose 80%, you lose 20%. So this one's charging. If I only had one battery, then this would be charging at 100%, but because this one's discharging, I'm losing 80% to charge this one. So that's why it's not efficient to continue on with this series. You know, you're losing 40% of power at the last one. It's just too slow to charge them up. But if you're running windmills, they're running a full, all the time. So this is kind of like an emergency in case somebody destroys your windmills. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off again, and then put it at 10, and now we're running on that first battery again, and we only have 12 seconds on each battery, so we can watch it go through really quick. Now we got 5, 4, yep, and now this one's 17 seconds, and then 10. And now we're running on the last one, and they will stop at 4 seconds. So technically I have, like right now at 10 seconds, I only have 6 seconds left. So 7, 6, 5, 4, and now we are only running on what's coming in from the windmills. So if the windmills were destroyed, this lights would actually be off. They wouldn't be on at all. So the way to run this now, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here, disconnect everything, and show you guys how to wire it and configure everything else. Alright, so I deleted the wiring. Let's talk about the setup. So in order to automate 3 battery series and have them only discharge one at a time, so this one will discharge before this one and then this one, you're going to need a minimum of 5 electrical branches, 4 OR switches, 1 splitter, and 3 battery blockers. these two are optional. So I'm only going to run the system with the 5, and then once we complete everything, I will explain why I like having these two at the end. Okay, so I'm gonna try and explain this as best as I can for new users and try not to rush through it. So if you already know what's happening, what's going on, just go ahead and speed up the video so you don't have to listen to my crazy voice all through this process. So I'm going to take this full power from battery from solar and wind, 257, and run it to this first electrical branch. I am going to preset this to 120, and I will take that 20 on the left side and push it up to the next electrical branch. Your configured electrical branches affect the left side. Anything left over gets pushed to the right side. So for example, I chose 120 here. That means that 120 goes up here, and anything left from the 255 goes over to the right side. So 120 here, left over. I'm going to hook it up to this splitter to charge the battery series. I have 3 battery series, so I have three connections I can use to charge those. So I'm going to hook up this battery series here. The output will go to the input of the next battery, and then the output of that last battery is going to go to a battery blocker. Alright? And this blocker will keep that battery from draining only if there's power, a minimum of 2 power coming into this side. So when there is a minimum of 2 power here, the block pass through, this will block the battery power and allow it to charge up. Right? So now we have main power coming up. Switch to 120. Anything left over gets used to charge batteries. That means that this is getting 120. Now I am going to use some math skills here and I need 2 energy power to block this one. So I'm going to subtract 2 from 120, which is 118, and come out with an extra 2 for this blocker. Now that blocker is on, meaning this battery starts to charge. Alright, we're charging the battery. Now I need to bring my solar and wind to my lights. So I will take the remaining of that 120, I subtracted 2, and I only got 118. Now I'm going to take it into another electrical branch, and I am going to set this one to 110. And I will explain later, I will explain it when I get to that point why that is. But then I'll take that 110 and bring it over to our first OR switch. Now from here I have several options. I can either power my lights straight away, or I can do a prioritization with an electrical branch, right? So I'm going to select this and make it so that it only spits out 16, and anything remaining will go to the splitter here. Alright, so this 16 now is going to power this light, which is hooked up to a series of 8. And I have this so that this is the minimum lights I want on. You know, these are spread out throughout my base, and they're minimum lights that I need to see and walk around. Anything else gets pushed through this right side, and will be split between the splitter that I can hook up for extra lighting that I don't need to look to see or navigate my base, but it's just nice to have because you know you can never have enough light bulbs. This way you only have 92 power here. I only have 92 power here, but I'm taking power to do the minimum lighting, and I can only power so many lights with this remaining. But this way I know for sure I have enough light to see and move around before I go crazy and light up the rest of the map. Now that we have completed our circuit for our electrical and wind, we want to be able to run and operate on battery power. Alright, so we are charging up this. We're up to 43 seconds. Let's go ahead and run that battery. Let's go ahead and let's pretend that we lost power. So we delete this one. Right, we lost solar and wind. That means that this battery now is on, right? So we turn it on. Let's try and see if I can back away and hook it up, and I can't. So it blocks it. We lose power. It turns on. Now we got battery power here. We're gonna run this battery here to another OR switch over here. And now we need to get this battery power on over. But I want to block these two battery series with battery power. So in order to do that, I'm going to use two more splitters. Sorry, electrical branches. Two more electrical branches. I call them splitters because they split by two. So, but they're electrical branches. So I got battery power coming in, and this thing keeps dying on me. It's already dead. But let's just bring in. Right. So let's just say that it's on, and then we're gonna go in up, come up to here into this electrical branch, and I'm going to set that to 2. When you first place one down, they're preset to 2. So I'm gonna leave it preset to 2 because I only need 2 power to block these, or block 1. So I'm gonna take the left side, which is the preset side, and I will block the next battery series with it. Alright, so let's just check. And then that power, the remaining power from the battery, is going to go on the right side into another OR switch. Now that power is going to go from this OR switch up to another electrical branch, which if you see what's happening, I will use the preset 2 on the left side to block the last battery blocker. Right? But I still need to get this power over to the main OR switch over here. So we went from this blocker up into this OR switch to another electrical branch to another OR switch to another electrical branch, and then we are going to do the right side to another OR switch. Okay? So every battery that you have, it's going to use up another OR switch. Now we're going to go through this OR switch and go straight to our main wind or solar or battery OR switch. So now we have either wind or solar or battery. Right? So we can go ahead and shut power off, and the lights should come on. After we lose solar and wind, this should turn off. Right now, technically this is an on position because it's blocking, so it's on. It's on here, but it's off here. When both lights turn on, then that means its power is going through. So let's see what happens if I lose power here. That means now we have power. So I need 2 energy here to block it. but I have no more wind or solar, so I have no energy to block it. So now it's on, and it's passing through, and then going through here, all the way over to this OR switch. Okay, so now I need to be able to run battery. Alright, see? So now that one died. Now I need to be able to run on this battery. So I'll take that battery and hook it up to this middle OR switch. Alright, so this is the first battery coming in. This is going to be the second battery, and it's going to continue and fill the line, the series that this one is no longer able to complete. This second battery is going to come in and fill in this gap. And now that would mean that this third battery would have to go into this last OR switch here in order so that when this battery dies, this one will take its place and its path. Alright, so let's see what happens when we turn on power from solar and wind. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can tell, but this one's blocked, but these are not. Right? So for whatever reason, I know the reason, but we got 6, this one's charging because it's blocked, but the last two are not. They're just charging and discharging, which is why it's blinking. You can tell it blinks and then it doesn't, it blinks and it doesn't. Okay, so in order to fix that, when I'm not running on battery power, they're off. Solar and wind, they're not turning off. So how do I fix that? I left this slot open and I left this one over here. Remember I said I configured this to 110. Now I'm going to take the remaining, I got 118 here, but I only have 110 being used over here. It's not, this power, it's really low coming in right now. Anyways, 110 on the left side, anything remaining is going to be pushed into here. Now this here is going to use wind and solar and act like if it was the first battery, right? So now even if I lose power, even if this battery is not on, then these are off, right? So it's acting like if it was the first battery from wind and solar. Now if I lose wind and solar, it will trigger the first battery, but it will still keep these off. Right, so now we're going to go ahead and leave it on wind and solar and charge those batteries up a little bit. Right, so now we're charging all 3 batteries because we're still running on wind and solar. We got 8 seconds there, 12 seconds here, and 12 seconds here. And again, these ones are still at 4 seconds because they're charging the last battery first. The last battery is the only one hooked up to a blocker, and then the second battery. Alright, so now we should be able to test it. So let's go ahead and test this. Let's see, I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anything or not. So let's say we lose power here from wind and solar. We run on the first battery. Alright, we got 12 seconds, 10 seconds. 6, 5, 4, there goes the second battery. Now we're using this one. Alright, so this one's off because it's dead. Now this one's being used. Now we got now it died. So now this one's dead, and we're using the last one. Right? Again, this system's set up like if we lose a little bit of power overnight, and then, or if your stuff gets destroyed, then you have some time to come back in the game. Especially with the sentry guns being turned into like electrical. You're gonna have to use electrical to have sentry guns now. But that's pretty much it. Um, that's I don't think there's much more to explain. Sometimes these glitch out. You have to set them in order to turn them back on, but they still work normally. I don't really think there's much more to the setup. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make an explanation as to why I did some of this stuff the way I did it. Alright, so now to explain as to why this works. So batteries will continue charging until they are full. If there is not one of the only ways to keep a battery from discharging, even if you have stuff hooked up to it, is a battery blocker. And then batteries themselves act like battery blockers once they're full. So like this one here, it's a charge to 15 minutes. And now this one's charging. So this is acting like a blocker for this battery. Now this one's filling up. That's why this setup works. Just because you have a output connected to the input, it no longer will take battery once this one's full, but this will take up to it takes a while for it to get to 4 hours, so I decided to do it with this little 2 batteries. That way it doesn't take forever. But the concept's the same. So that's why this works out pretty good. And then the other thing I forgot to mention was that I mentioned that this was taking the 118 and I was only taking 110 out, and then I'm leaving only 7 out here. The only reason I'm leaving 7 is because that's the minimum requirement it takes to power these 2 switches, right? So basically it takes 7 here, deducts 1 for this OR switch, you get 6, I take 2, prioritized by this branch, and then shuts off the second switch here, the second blocker, or turns on the second blocker, and then it comes out at 5, because I already took 2, we got 6, and then takes 2, and then you come out with 4, 5? Oh, sorry, 3. So, sorry, do that again. So, 2 minus 1 for the branch, and then you end up with 3. So 6 minus 2 for the left, for the prioritization on the left, and then minus 1 for the branch itself. You end up with 3, and then minus 1 for the OR switch, and then you end up with 2, which is the power I needed to shoot over to this last branch. But that's pretty much it. And again, the only reason I did the prioritization for this branch was you don't have to have lights hooked up. You could have like sensors or something like that that you don't need a whole lot of power to run. But that's kind of what I meant by having emergency lights, or things that you would want hooked up with minimal power. You would want to run off this emergency, this prioritization branch right here. So I could have a sensor or a sentry gun once it become electrical, or things like that that you would want to have on even if you're not getting complete full power from your solar energy to light up your whole base. But that's pretty much it. Alright, I hope you guys liked the video. Please support and encourage me to do more. Thank you. Bye.